What's going on, y'all? Steve Stanfield, the professional man. Back in the building, yeah. Let's bring it in, man. What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? Good morning. Good morning. I want to say good morning, Vietnam, but I don't want to be disrespectful, so, you know. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in, man. This is Steve Stanfield, the professional. Uh, Tapping in with y'all this morning. Wanted to have a brief conversation about Joe Brady, the new Buffalo Bills head coaching hire. Give you a little background on, well, a little in-depth background on the individual, and just kind of have a brief conversation around the hire, around the particulars of the hire. Um, Maybe some opinionated matter, like why I think they made the hire, why it may or may not be a good or bad, yeah, a good or bad idea. And I wanted to implement something new. I wanted to have a conversation around, well, not necessarily have a conversation, but I want to ask AI it thinks about the new Joe Brady hire. So towards the end of this conversation today, we're gonna have we're gonna ask AI more specifically what Chat GPT thinks of the Joe Brady hire in its totality, and whether Chat thinks that the Joe Brady hire is a good hire or whether it's. Again, good morning. This is D. Stanfield, the professional man. This is like my third live since I started coming back. Um, Shout out to the Rise Up family. Shout out to Fresh Perspective, man. Like I told you all late last week, the Fresh Perspective family will be coming back to the forefront of the podcast community, if you will. If you're just joining us, man, this is D. Stanfield, the professional. We having a conversation around Joe Brady. I haven't really started the conversation. I'm giving everybody a few minutes to jump in before I jump on this conversation. Again, this conversation is geared towards um, giving you a little background about Joe Brady, having a conversation around whether that hire is a good hire or not, uh, and then at the end of the conversation, I'm going to ask ChatGPT what ChatGPT thinks of the hire. It's called the AI opinion, if you will. It's a new segment that I'm implementing, or I should say, I'm testing out. So we'll see what Chat has to say towards the end of this conversation, if you will. But before we ever get there, man, I want to invite everybody in. If you are just tuning in, please drop a comment in the comment section, so I can see if anybody has anything to say, and then we can have conversations around those things. uh, Again, so I'm gonna give it about a one more minute before I jump into this conversation. Uh, Again, shout out to the Fresh Perspective family. Shout out to the Rise Up family. Shout out to Andre the Torch Robinson, Mookie Betts. I'm sorry, Andre the Torch Robinson, Mookie Hawkins, City Councilman Mookie Hawkins, uh, Marcus Betts, and like I said, the entire team of podcasters that I normally work with. All right, so it is officially 9:47, so 17 minutes late. So I just want to kind of jump into this whole Joe Brady hire and just have a brief conversation around the entire surroundings uh, of this hire for the Buffalo Bills. First of all, a little bit of background on Joe Brady. So Joe Brady, his coaching chrono the, the chronological history of his coaching tenure through the years. 2013, 2014, William and Mary linebackers coach. Kind of significant because him and Mike Tomlin both went to William and Mary. Shout out to the Nuke, Mike Tomlin. 2015, 2016, Penn State grad assistant. 2017, 2018, offensive assistant with the New Orleans Saints. 2019, pass game coordinator and wide receivers coach at LSU. 2021, Carolina Panthers offensive coordinator, OC. I want to pay special attention to that particular tenure. Um, 2022 to 2026, quarterbacks coach, uh, which is from 2022 to 2023, interim offensive coordinator 2023, and then offensive coordinator 2024 2025. So I want to pay attention to the last, we'll say, 5.5, 6 years of Joe Brady as we kind of matriculate through this conversation. So yeah, Joe Brady has a very rich history with regard to his coaching history. Shout out to Andre the Torch Robinson. Thank you for tuning in, brother, man. I appreciate you. Appreciate you for tuning in for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, I'm gonna get to the comments in a little bit. Just want to have a brief conversation around this. So, as most of you know, Joe Brady signed onto a 5-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. We'll call it a strategic promotion, if you will. It's immediately following, I think it's 2 weeks now, the firing of Sean McDermott 2 Mondays ago after a pointless, another loss in which Buffalo, once again, as I always say, winds up on the wrong side of history. And no, I want to be careful about what I say during this particular live because I didn't necessarily want to have a conversation anymore about whether about the things that surrounded the hiring. But because I wanted to focus on Joe Brady today and not necessarily on Sean McDermott, but I do want to say this again. And Jerry Hughes kind of pointed out something earlier this week. He said anybody who loses a game with 13 seconds left after going up by a touchdown and fighting all the way back should have been fired at that moment. Here's a culmination of what we're talking about. Sean McDermott was let go for what Terry Pagula wants you all to believe was because of that game against the Denver Broncos, in which ultimately the culmination of turnovers and questionable calls from the referee put us in a place where we did not proceed to the next round. And I think everybody who watched this past weekend's football play can agree that we would have at least been competitive in the next round, let alone possibly the way Drake May played, probably won, which has been a continuing trend throughout this entire playoffs. Drake May has had very, very suspect football play throughout the entire playoffs. I think we can all agree to that. Terry Pagula wants you to believe that it was because of that game. It was not because of that game. And if it was because of that game, shame on that dude. But when we look throughout the course of Sean McDermott's career, and then we focus on the things that were revealed very, very recently, and when I say very, very recently, I mean over the last 3 to 4 months. We're talking about 13 seconds. We're talking about overall collapses in games like the Cincinnati game, where we had home field advantage and we supposedly played better in the snow, and you're supposed to be a defensive-minded coach, and yet and still, and time again, regardless as to how I feel about Sean McDermott, time and time again, the fact of the matter is, in every playoff loss that we have had for the last 5 years, it has not been the offense's fault up until this year. I don't think that there has ever been a year that we can honestly say that the offense contributed to a loss in the playoffs until this year. Josh has been utterly amazing in almost every single playoff game up until the Denver Broncos game, and it has proven to be a null and void. And the reason I keep bringing up the 13-second situation, and and we're having conversations around that, is because a lot of stuff was revealed this year. So as we know, the special teams coordinator at that time finally released a statement towards pertaining to the situation in which he revealed that Sean McDermott was the one that overruled his opinion to squib kick the ball on the following kickoff. Anybody who knows me knows that I've been clamoring over the fact that I felt like we should have squib kicked that ball like year in and year out. The squib kick is what the lack of squib kicking is what killed us. It takes anywhere between 2 to 4 seconds off the clock. You take 2 to 4 seconds off of a 13-second drive. They have to throw a Hail Mary after the first play. There's nothing you can do. There's absolutely nothing you can do outside of a miraculous kick return, which even at that time our special teams was performing very well. You take the confidence out of the special teams and you give them unnecessary field position and things of that nature. So we'll start right there. But throughout the course of our playoff, I don't want to call them playoff failures, but coming short in the playoffs, coming short of the Super Bowl, and even in those instances where we came up short to at least the AFC Championship game, it was never the offense. It was always the defense until this year. And even as we look back to that situation, again, the 13-second situation, we found out years ago, Leslie Frazier revealed that Sean McDermott was the one calling the defensive plays. We blamed Leslie Frazier for his complacency and staying in zone so often throughout the course of the game, and then we find out that the last possession, that 13 seconds possession, and then even in overtime, Sean McDermott's calling them the defensive plays. And so when we think about that instance and the covering up of that instance, even aspects of it all the way until today, and we take into account that you're supposed to be the defensive-minded coach, genius, and yet and still, in most instances, the reason why we don't ascend to AFC Championship, Super Bowl is because of the defense. It begins to erode your place in terms of being the primary voice that leads us forward. And so I was of the belief that Sean McDermott probably should have been relieved of his duties probably about 2 or 3 years ago. At the 2 or 3 year mark ago, when we were having those conversations, the major question was at the behest of who? Like, who's going to replace Sean McDermott? Well, after last year, we had a guy named Ben Johnson. The year before, you had a guy named Mike McDonald. Shane Steichen. I mean, the list of prominent offensive minds that have, throughout the course of the last 2 to 3 years, strategically developed. Kevin O'Connell strategically developed quarterbacks from where they are to take them over the hump. When you combine that with the fact that history has shown us that sometimes when a particular voice is not able to get them over the hump, you need to bring in somebody else to take them to the next level. You look at Mike McDonald right now, and you look at the move that he made by allowing Geno Smith to go to the Raiders and follow along with the coach that believed in him, that got him to Seattle to begin with, while you invest in Sam Darnold and now you're in the Super Bowl. You look at things like the Mark Jackson situation with Steve Kerr. Even though there's a plethora of, I'll say, political motivated things around that. You look at those things and you say, okay, well, history points to the fact that we've been in this position several different times. Is this particular loss on Sean McDermott? No. But when are we as an organization going to move on and move forward with a fresh mindset, a fresh voice? And I believe personally, new stadium, new parameters around tailgating. Uh, you want to take things to a new mindset. At this point, you don't want to walk into a new space trying to create a new mindset with the same leader if he hasn't gotten you to the point where you need to get to. So I'm cool with Sean McDermott being relieved of his duties, regardless as to whether the last game was his fault or not. What I'm not cool with is if you're going to do a regime change, why are we keeping a predecessor? I mean, why are we keeping a disciple of Sean McDermott? And here's what I mean by that. Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane both came from Carolina. Sean McDermott came to Buffalo first, allowed Doug Whaley to draft the draft class that produced the most Pro Bowlers that we've had in I'll say since 2016, and then got rid of him the very next day. We bring in we bring in Brandon Beane, and so starts the tenure of Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier, Brian Daboll, and Brandon Beane at the helm. And we get to 13 seconds. 13 seconds happens. We decide not to move on from Sean, but we let Brian out of Dodge. Again, shout out to everybody that's tuning in. This is D Stanford, the professional man. We having a conversation around this whole Joe Brady situation. I am going to read some of the comments, but I just want to kind of touch on everything before I jump into the comments. I'm gonna go back to it. Shout out to Laurent. Shout out to Marcus Betts. Shout out to Andre the Torch Robinson and everybody else that's tuning in. Again, this is D Stanford, the professional man. We just kind of jumping into this Joe Brady conversation. So in my opinion, you make this change to get Sean McDermott out of here, and the entire mentality around what I view as elite mediocrity. I speak about this all the time. I feel like Sean McDermott, as good of a coach as he is, and as stable of a mind as he is, he operates in elite mediocrity. So we have this conversation. You get rid of Sean McDermott, and then you promote Joe Brady, an individual. So you let Brian Daboll out to go coach the Giants, and if I'm not mistaken, you kept Sean McDermott because of his level-headed mindset, his stability, his great leadership skills, and you let Brian Daboll out of there. They were known to have conflict. Brian Daboll is a fire starter. He's very fiery, emotional, very vocal, and the guy that you promote had to be put into the booth because of the same characteristics. On top of that, this guy that you promote, I want to say Joe Brady is 36 years old. He'll be 37 in September, if I'm not mistaken. Right now, he stands to be the oldest coach in the NFL. Sean McVay still holds the record for the youngest player to win a Super Bowl. It looks like he will keep that record because Joe Brady will be 37 in September. It seems as though you're keeping the same mindset with little changes, and then you point to, oh well, he has the CEO oversight vision that we were looking for to take us forward. Well, if that was the case, then why did it take you so long to make the hire? It seemed as though you were waiting on Clint Kubiak, Davis Webb. It seemed as though you were only being as faithful as your options. And then a few days ago, it's leaked that Mike Kubiak, the father of Clint, doesn't really want to leave the area. And then all of a sudden, we get a notification that you're finalizing talks with Joe Brady. So was Joe Brady your sloppy seconds? Maybe, maybe not. This is all hearsay speculation. I just wanted to have the conversation around it. So Joe Brady gets promoted to a 5-year deal with the Buffalo Bills, and so we begin to try to move forward. Let me jump into some of these comments before I move forward, man. Again, this is D Stanford, the professional. I wanted to tap in with you all. I appreciate everybody for joining in. Let's see. Marcus Best said the Cincy game in Buffalo, Josh wasn't very good. He wasn't very bad either. He didn't turn the ball over. Laurent Swanson, my brothers, what's going on, Laurent? Said I'm on board with the hire. Do we need a regime change? This is a totally different situation. We were in a divisional playoff game. We don't need an overhaul. There's something about continuity. What do you mean let Daboll out? He got a head coaching opportunity. He didn't promote Brady after Daboll left. No, he didn't. Okay, so let me. And then Camel Monk, what's up, cuz? Camel Monk said, I think the press conference rubbed everyone the wrong way. We just need a solid defensive coordinator. Okay. All right. So Laurent, what I was saying, what I meant by that was, after 13 seconds, we fired the wrong guy in a lot of people's minds. We should have let McDermott go and keep Daboll. That's what I meant by that particular comment. We let Daboll out of the house because you're promoting the same type of guy. This is the guy that helped to reduce, who originally helped to evolve Josh's tendencies while reducing his turnovers. We had no problems with the offense under Daboll, and that includes, but is not restricted to, a healthy and happy Stephon Diggs. When Daboll, if you all recall, when Buffalo let Daboll go, take the coaching job in New York, Stephon Diggs did a interview with Colin Cowherd in which he voiced subliminally his extreme displeasure with that move. And I think that had everything to do with the promotion that was coming from Ken Dorsey, the quarterback's coach at that time, which Josh vouched for him, which ultimately, in my opinion, from what I read, from what I heard, reading through the lines, it ultimately started the discord between Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, because Steph was like, yo man, you need to get your boy. You vouched for Ken Dorsey to be promoted, and we getting trash out here. And then it kind of moved on. Ken Dorsey gets fired. They promote Joe Brady, who's at the time the quarterback's coach, which is basically took the same path that Ken Dorsey did. And it is of my belief that Joe Brady, in this particular coaching search, made it clear that even if he didn't voice for Sean's firing, he made it clear that if they did not retain him as head coach, it's now this is totally my opinion. I'm not sure if this is true, but it's my opinion that if he wasn't retained as head coach, he was going to move on because he had other opportunities. That we know. He had plenty of other opportunities. And like you said, Ben, Yeah, it's always been the defense. So it's cool to move on from McDermott. I just don't necessarily understand the keeping or the ascension. If you're looking for a new voice, you're moving into a new stadium, you're looking for a new mindset. You want to keep continuity and congruity, but the Joe Brady hire, if you think about the last game, I mean, outside of if we think about Joe Brady's tenure, this is an individual who's known to run the same play 4 times in a row just because it ain't rote. And then when you get to the playoffs, you don't have an expanded playbook that can get you into a place where you're moving into Super Bowl conversations. I say that because when you're running new plays in the playoffs that are not game season to an extent, oftentimes you're uncomfortable, and against good teams, bad things happen. Bad things meaning turnovers. All right. Jumping into a few more of the comments. Marcus Betts said, I think the offense let them down for Cincy. Game 2 at home. I disagree with that. I think that the entire team let them down because it wasn't just the offense that wasn't performing. The defense could not stop Joe Mixon at all. Not even a little bit. No problems. No problem with offense under Brady. Okay. It's always been a defense. I do agree that it's always been a defense to let us down, especially the run defense. Like I said, Marcus, we just got through talking about the run defense with regard to the Cincinnati game, and then, yeah, AJ, AJ Jenkins. Here we go. They are trash. I'm not gonna respond to that, AJ. But when I see you in the airport again, I'm gonna make sure that that Atlanta airport police arrest you for blasphemy. uh, and then Marcus says we got to get a true wide receiver one, which I agree with. We could have had a true wide receiver one if we wouldn't have been so in such a hasty. If we wouldn't have been so thirsty to get Stephon Diggs, we could have kept our draft pick, drafted Justin Jefferson, because as we spoke to, we'd seen Stephon Diggs in Buffalo several times. We knew he was looking at Buffalo. We could have had both if we were just patient. But emotional people make emotional decisions. And we don't even know if Joe Brady was going to use that pick on Justin Jefferson given his tendencies and first round picks. So I'll leave that there. All right. So with that being said, man, I want to know a couple other things I want to point out. And these are good things about Joe Brady. Under Joe Brady, we have not had anything less than a. We've not sat at anywhere less than number 4 in terms of offensive efficiency. In large part, over the last 3 years, or last 2.5 years since Joe Brady has taken over, we've fluctuated between number 4 and number 1 in points scored on offense every year. Now, I'm not so sure how much that is attributed to Joe Brady as much as it is to Josh Allen in that offense. And the reason I say that is because Brian Daboll did the exact same thing. We were the highest scoring offense under him for 2 straight years. The only team that was even in close contention with us was Jared Goff and those Detroit Lions that were putting up so many points. And then obviously Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, who's another gunslinger, another highly efficient passer, high volume guy. The only difference between Joe and Josh Allen, in my opinion, is Joe's offensive lineman played with me in high school. And you see where I'm sitting. So, man. That being said, man, I really want to know what everybody else has to say about this hire. It's my opinion. Again, I might be out of bounds for saying this. I might be wrong for saying this. But it's my opinion that the Joe Brady hire was sloppy seconds. It's my opinion that they wanted Clint Kubiak, and when Mike Kubiak's comments were leaked to the press that he didn't want to leave the Seattle area and he was comfortable where he was, that Brandon Beane and company were forced to move on. Um, I also, and again, this is just shut up, Marcus. Again, this is just my opinion, but I also am of the belief that Brandon Beane and company were hoping that Buffalo lost in the first round against Jacksonville, um, so that they could get rid of McDermott then and interview Clint Kubiak immediately. I think that he was always number one on the list. I think that what they fed us about nobody being a front runner was BS. Um, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit later during later conversations. But these are just my opinions. I don't have any proven facts. Again, Joe Brady signs a 5-year deal. We don't know the monetary particulars around that, but it's a 5-year deal going forward. So we'll see where that goes. Um, Me personally, am I frustrated by it? Absolutely. Do I care enough to allow that to sway my personal opinions of the organization? Yeah, I do. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, I, for one, I feel like the interviews with minority candidates were formalities. Why are you bringing in Anthony Lynn? Why are you bringing in Scalise? For what? You're not seriously considering them. Some people think Davis Webb is black. Why you bring that? Never mind. I leave. I leave that where it is. um, Again, it's D Stanford, the professional man. Thank y'all for joining in. If you got any more comments around this conversation, I want to hear it. I got one more segment that I'm testing out, and that is the segment where we ask Chat GPT what Chat's opinion is pertaining to pertaining to a question. And this is something that I'm implementing. It's just a different way of being creative. Um, I legit want to know what Chat thinks. So if anybody else has any other comments before I before I jump in to talk to Chat, yeah, go ahead and post those comments. Marcus says, "Do you have any pet cats you want that could be a fit?" Yo, what is wrong with you, dude? I'm firm in the belief that something is seriously wrong with you. No, I don't have any, man. Uh, here's an idea. Well, nope, I'm not doing it. Nope, I'm not doing it. I was about to have a conversation around whether any of you thought that Philip Rivers would have been a good hire, but I'm not doing it. I refuse. I refuse. Um, all right, so let's talk to Chat GPT. Let's ask Chat, and then I'll let you guys go. At least today, and I'm gonna read exactly what Chat says pertaining to this hire, and then we'll see. So let me jump over to this other camera so I can get Chat's expert opinion. Hey, Chat, let me put you on speakerphone so people know I'm not lying.
All right, loud and clear. Hey, everyone listening. What can I help you all with?
All right, Chat, I'm live on my Facebook feed. And we're having a conversation around Joe Brady. And so I don't want any details around this. I just want to know uh, what do you think? Do you think that the Buffalo Bills hiring Joe Brady is the right decision? And I need a yes or no answer. I don't need any supplemental information. I just need a yes or no answer.
All right, just a yes or no. My take, yes.
And why is that?
Ah, you're pulling me into details now. Honestly, I think he's shown offensive adaptability, and the Bills need stability with that. But hey, opinions are opinions.
Care to go any deeper before we jump off of the live?
Totally up to you. If you want a deeper dive or just a friendly debate, I'm game. Otherwise, I'll let you wrap things up with your audience however you like.
Yeah, chat. Just give us a little bit more of a deeper insight as to why you think Joe Brady's the right hire.
So I think Joe Brady brings a modern offensive perspective. He's shown creativity and adaptability, things the Bills need to get over that last hurdle. Pair that with a strong QB like Josh Allen, and I'd say it's a smart bet to elevate their offensive consistency.
All right, folks. There you got it. Uh,
And that's a wrap. Thanks for having me as part of your conversation. Always happy to add a little extra flavor.
Thanks, chat. All right, guys. So there you have it. Chat thinks it's the right hire. I don't think it's the right hire. So we have a difference of opinion. I guess we'll see over the next 5 years who was right in this particular conversation. And with that being said, man, I thank everybody for tuning in, man. Again, I this is my new setup. I'm kind of I'm probably gonna go back into or give you guys a little insight as to how I have things set up, if you will. Um, some brand new stuff that I'm trying, but it's pretty dope, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all with your patience. Again, I did get on a little bit late today, but uh, again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate you helping me out. Uh, Please like and share the show. And with that being said, man, I hope everybody has a great day. Shout out to the community. Shout out to Fresh Perspective. Shout out to the Rise Up family, Marcus Best, Andre the Torch Robinson, Laurent Swanson, Camo Monk, everybody else that tuned in, took time to drop comments or likes and shares, man. I appreciate you all. That being said, everybody have a great day. Peace and blessings. Stay away from elite mediocrity. Only excellence is the standard. Peace.